Hello, my name is Eduardo and today I am here with another tutorial for App Inventor, and today I'm going to show you how to make a multi-language app. Okay, well, I was trying to make this easy to manage and I hope easy to understand. I made this based on a normal app from I don't know, Android Studio or something, where you have a string.xml file. Okay, in that file you put all your strings or text. Okay, and then it's easier. You create another one, for example, for Japanese. That is the quite similar thing, and then you just translate these documents. Well, in App Inventor we don't have these features, but we can make something similar. So the idea of this app, let's check the app first. I have a very simple app. The app, as you can see here in the designer first, we have here a list picker, labels, buttons, text box, checkbox, and the final one, that is a spinner that we're going to work. Okay, first I have all of these elements. Okay, so this is not we're going to work with the spinner. I'm going to show you how to make this one, so I haven't done the spinner. So here, if you check my app, you have language. So let's refresh the app. And that's it. As default, I have Spanish. I have set Spanish. So you have idioma, bienvenidos, por favor, presione el botón. When I press button 1 or button 1, is usted presionó el botón 1. Usted presionó el botón 2. You have cierto, falso, y gracias por usar esta app. So you have in Spanish. Now you select with the list picker, we're going to change the language, and we press English, and that's it. Now we have language, welcome, please press a button 1, button 2, waiting, here the text hint, true, false, thanks for using this app. Now if I press button 1, you press button 1, you press button 2. Now I'm going to explain you a little bit about the process of this thing. Well, you have your elements. Don't forget to name them properly. Now the idea is just to organize everything by components. Okay, so you have buttons, checkboxes, labels, list pickers, text box. Okay, so let's separate all the text. So I did this. Okay, first I have here, for example, all the strings for the labels. Remember, strings like text, all the text. Okay, now for example, I have for labels, text for buttons or strings for buttons, strings for checkboxes, for pickers, for the text box hint, and message strings. These are the message that we will display when we press the buttons. Now I'm going to explain you a little bit here. It is a list in a list. For example, here for the string, for the labels, all the text for the labels or the label strings, I'm going to create first a list, make a list, and then inside this list I have two lists that are these are the languages. Okay, so for example here, let's add here a comment. It is language or list 1 equals to Español, and list 2 equals to English. Okay, why? Well, if you check my list, it is a list of languages. This is the language 1 and language 2, and inside this list of language, okay, so this is Spanish, I have the strings that I will use in the labels. For example, I am using the welcome screen, okay, the welcome string, that is bienvenidos, por favor presione, and the goodbye string, that is gracias por usar esta app, or thank you. So it is the same, these are the same values but translated. For example, welcome please press a button that is bienvenidos. Gracias por usar esta app. Thanks for using this app. So again, this is a list, okay, of languages first, languages, and inside the list of languages, Spanish, English, I have a list of strings that I'm going to use for all the labels. Also for the buttons, I just have 2 buttons, so I am not using button 3, so we can add the button 3 and I will show you how. So again, it's the same. Language 1, language 2. So make sure that you always have the same order. So you have in this one, Spanish, English, Spanish, English. Here for the checkboxes, Spanish, English, cierto, falso, true, false. For the picker, Spanish, English, idioma, language. And then also for the text box hint, that is Spanish, English, esperando, waiting. Or for the message strings. This message strings is a list for the message that you will display in the text box after you press a button. For example, here Spanish, English, and in Spanish when you press button 1 you say usted presiona el botón 1, usted presiona el botón 2, or in English you press button 1, you press button 2. Okay, so that is basically the idea. First you create your list, then I created a procedure, okay, a result procedure. It's pretty simple. I call it strings list, and then I have 3 variables: language, string, and list name. Language refers so about the index of the list. For example, in this case, if I want to set Spanish, I want to say use the Spanish language, I have to set it to number 1 because it's list 1. If I want it to be my language, English, I set it to number 2. Now we go here for list name. Okay, the list name, it refers about the, give me a second. List name, let's go in order. Okay, so the list name refers which kind, what kind of string are you using, or the list from the kind of component. For example, here I have the list name is message string, text box, picker. So that's why I just separated this, because you can have a big list with all the text or strings and it can be like really confusing. But it's better to say, well, I'm going to translate for all the buttons, the text for all my checkboxes, for all my labels, and it will be easier if you have it in separated lists. Okay, but I have the list, so you are going to select the list. For example, here I want to set it, my language is index 1. For example, if it's Spanish, the list name is for the buttons. And then the string, I just have to remember which number or index. For example, I want to use the number 3. This one. Okay, that's it. So let's make it like this. So here, imagine that you have this procedure and you have it in a button. Okay, so let's say that I have button 3. Just imagine. So I call this procedure and I will insert it here in the text. That's the way it works. Okay, so obviously you have to insert it in a procedure on something. Okay, but then you have to select the language. As I told you, I want language 1 is Spanish, language 2 it's English in my app. Okay, so because it's the first list in a list, it is Spanish, English. Now we go here and you say, oh, I want to set it to Spanish. Then the name, it's a button, so it has to be the string, it is in the button list. So you say, oh, button strings, yes. And the string, oh, I want to use the string, it is the text, the index of the text that you want to use. For example, in this case, it is 1, no, it's 2, it's 3. I want to use button 3, so the result, it has to be button 3 or button 3 in Spanish. So we go here and we call, and you say, I want to use the string number 3. Let's do the result just to see. if we can see the result of this procedure. And that's it. The result is botón 3. That is in Spanish, and it's this one, botón 3. Okay, and that's the idea. That's pretty much the idea. For example, here, let's say that I want to now to change it to English. So to set it to English, you just call it 2, and you just make sure you have the string number 3 in English. Let's say it is button 3, and let's do it. Okay, just give me a second. Button 3. Okay, that's it. Or let's say that this is for a checkbox string. So you go to the list of checkbox, then you set it in English, and then the string checkbox. We have two strings, true and false. Let's say that I want it to be false, so it is number 2. The string is the number 2, and then we do it. Just give me a second. Do it false. That's it. Okay, that's the way it works, this thing. Now, the next thing is to put all these procedures together. So I created 2 big procedures, one for Spanish and one for English. So inside this procedure I have all the texts. Okay, so for example here, título, label. Okay, so the first label, we are going to set it to the label list. We are going to set it to number 2, it is English, and the value number 1, and then I go over there with labels, buttons, checkboxes. So everything is with number 2 if you check, because it is English. Now here I do the same for Spanish. Check Spanish, it is my language number 1, and then you have the messages, string number 1, label strings, button strings, the list. Okay, so it is easier to remember. Now I use, remember that I'm changing the language using a list picker. You can use a button also. Okay, you can set 2 buttons, and English, Spanish, but I use or with a checkbox. I don't know, it is your choice, it is up to you. So here I use the list picker. So for the list picker I did this. Okay, so I have 2 values in my list picker, that is English and Spanish. Let me check if I have the value here. I guess it is over there. Yes, it is in the designer, sorry. Check my list picker, it has English, Spanish, or Español. So if list picker selection equals to English, we call the procedure to change everything to English. But if the list picker selection is equals to Español, you call the set Spanish procedure, and that's it, pretty much the same. So I know this looks so big, or you can have it like in mini procedures, and inside there, for example, you can create a procedure for checkboxes. Okay, and you translate it like checkbox, and then you insert the checkbox, and then I don't know, it is the way just to organize these things. But I guess it is not pretty disorganized. You just have first all the buttons together, or the labels together, and then you have all the checkboxes. For example, I have 3 checkboxes, 1, 2, okay, and just 2 checkboxes, and the list picker. So you just have to be organized with this. Okay, I recommend that. Then for the buttons they have some kind of interaction, because if I press button 1, I want 1 message to display, button 2, 1 message to display, and the message change if it's in English or Spanish, depending on. So for that I create procedures for button 1 and procedure for button 2. And again, I created another variable. here that is initialize. It is just to have this kind when you have this kind of interactive things, okay? For example, a result when you press or do something, okay? Well, I created this current language and the default is Espanol because I started as Espanol. Now, button 1, when you press the button 1, okay, you have to check this. When I have Spanish, I set the current language to Espanol, this variable, and English, I set the current language to English, okay? So that's the idea. When the language is set to Spanish, okay, the variable current language is set to Espanol. If global current language equals to English, okay, see if this variable is English, so and I press the button, so I have to select here, or I have to use this message that is global. First I have to go to the global message. Remember that I created a list, we call it message strings for this kind of interactive things, and then I have global message strings, and then it is in English, so I remember English is my second language, and the string that I want to use is number 1. So in global message strings, it's in English, is this one, number 2, and number 1, you press button 1. This is for button 1. Okay, in Spanish it is the same. We check if the global current language is equals to Espanol, and we go here to language 1, in the same list, the message strings, and the string is this value 1 that it says button 1, okay? And we duplicate the procedure and change the name for button to text, and it's the same. You have language English, and the string now in this case is string number 2. Also for Spanish, and that's the idea. Now you just call the procedures, these procedures here inside the buttons, and then if you check, we can change depending on the button and depending on the language. If I go to Spanish, here, okay? So I guess that it's pretty nice. Now let's say that we want, I show you about the list picker is empty, okay? So let's say if we can do the same for list picker. First, let's go here to list picker. We don't have any list picker, so let's go to the list picker. List picker, this is not list picker, sorry, it's the spinner. Okay, spinner, we have the elements from string, we can create the elements as default, okay, or let's create them in designer if you want. Okay, let's go here, elements from string. Remember my default language is Spanish, so I have to set it to Spanish, okay? So, and I can set like let's go for some colors. Let's go for rojo, blanco, it's white, and azul, blue, okay, and also black. Let's see, black, sorry that it's English, negro. Let's copy this information, Ctrl C, and then we go here, rojo, blanco, azul, negro. That's it. Now, pay attention now. So, we have here and we want to change that messages. So, for that, we are going to create another list just for this thing that is the spinner. Okay, so we're going to call it spinner strings. So then first I create a list and inside the list I'm going to create another list that is language 1, language 2, and that's it. This is Spanish, this is English. Okay, so now for this I want to set my list. Remember that my list, it is here. I'm going to use this thing. I'm going to eliminate this. We are going to make it just with one, that is elements from string. Duplicate, and I translate, because this is now to English. We call it red, white, blue, and black. That's it. Now, how to use this? Well, remember that in this case it is not like text, it is the elements from the string. So here we go, and we can put them at the bottom just to have a kind of order. You can order these things as you can see them in your app. So first, let's go. This is the list for English. Remember? Set English. So for English, and then I'm going to go to the procedure, this guy. Now, which language? It's English. So language, English, remember, it's number 2. And then we have the list name. Well, the list, remember that we are in a list for spinner. Spinner, spinner. So pretty easy, right? You can have lots of lists, but if you have the name, it's quite easy to understand. Oh, okay, I am in a spinner, so the list of spinners. Now the text. Well, remember the text, it is just I have just one string. That is this one. A bunch of text over there. So that is number 1. So you don't have anything more. And that's it. Now we have to do the same for Spanish. We duplicate this just to make things easier. And what is the idea now? Well, it is not language 1, not language 2, because this is a Spanish list, remember? So let's check Spanish, set Spanish. So we are going to set it to number 1, and that's it. So let's see if this thing is working, right? So let's go here and let's change language to Spanish first. Well, we have rojo, blanco, azul, negro. Okay, then let's change this thing to English, and you have red, white, blue, and black. And if you see this thing, it's pretty easy and it's very understandable. Now let's make things better. We have Spanish, language 1, English, language 2, and I'm going to add a language. I am learning English, so that's why I included English. I have Spanish because it is my language, my mother tongue. And now we're going to set a different language that I'm not familiar with. Okay, so for example, I want to set this thing to, let's go here, Portuguese. Okay, I want to add Portuguese. So let's just add the comment just to remember this 3 equals to Portuguese. Okay, list 3 equals to Portuguese. So let's do it. So let's create. First, we have to do this. Let's imagine that you have English, Spanish, and now your app users want you to include Spanish. I mean Portuguese. So well, we are going to use Google Translator for do that. First, let's add a new element for the main list of all of them. So here, we add a new list. Then you duplicate this and you just translate. Welcome, please press a button. So here, welcome, you press a button. Oh, you have bem-vindo, por favor, presione un botão, or something like that, sorry. Portuguese sounds really cool. Well, we paste it. We have the first part, pretty much. Thanks for using this app. Obrigado por usar este aplicativo. Cool. And that's it. We have the label, and we have to do the same for all of them. So we add first new. Just let's give some space. So just let me make this thing bigger for you. So now we have to duplicate this, and you have button. So we are going to translate button. I'm not sure if this is the same button. So well, we have button one, and well, of course it is the same for all of them. Control C, Control B, button 2, and button 3. Now for the checkboxes, true and false. True, verdade. But first let's add the list for language 3, remember, in order. 1 Spanish, English, and language 3. We just duplicate this. We add this thing, capital, and then false, falso, white Spanish, falso. Preto. Okay, and then we have to set this is a now what? Well, it's pretty simple. You have set English. We're going to duplicate this complete procedure, and we're going to call it set Portuguese. Yes, Portuguese. Okay, set Portuguese, and now we just have to change the language here, the global pure language, Portuguese. So, and then we are going to change my language to Portuguese. All of them is Portuguese. So Portuguese is language number 3, remember? We just changed this to 3. My language 3, 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 and my language to 3. And that's it. You have Portuguese, and now we have to go here. And if you remember, we are selecting this with list picker, so we are going to add Portuguese. Now for that thing we need to go to the list picker, and we need to add another else if. We just duplicate this and we call it Portuguese, and we are going to duplicate this one and just change it to set Portuguese. And you are just missing the buttons. Okay, again we are going to add the one for here in this procedure. You have Portuguese, else if, and that's it. We just duplicate this. We add Portuguese with the current languages. equals to Portuguese. We set the text box to language number 3. We just set that. We don't have to move anything else. And in this case, else if again for button number 2. You just duplicate this thing, rename to Portuguese, and then we go here, duplicate, and you set the language to number 3, that is Portuguese. And I am sure that we are done with that. So let's try it in the app. Okay, so well, let's refresh everything. Okay, so let's go here and let's change to hello, just to refresh the screen. Okay, yeah. So wait, and let's see if this thing is working or not. So here there is Spanish, remember, language, we have this, hello. Then we go here, language, English, we check it before, button 1, button 2, red, blue, black, and finally let's go to Portuguese. And now my app. Oh, we are missing one. Ah no, that's correct because it is the same Spanish. Verdade, falso. And your app now it is in Portuguese, and it was pretty easy. Okay, well, I hope you like this tutorial. Maybe you can improve many things about this to make it easier for you, but I guess this is a good start, okay, to have this kind of multilingual apps. So you can just have this bunch of text, and you are just adding. If you add more things, well, it's just simple. Okay, for example, let's just finish this adding an extra button. Let's say that I need a new button for this. Okay, so I add button number 3. Okay, and then I go here to the blocks, and I have to check, of course, all of these things. So just for example, I started with language 1, that is Spanish. Okay, just to have a order in these things. So I duplicate button, I set it to button 3, and strings list. I have to check that I have in the string for this button. I go to buttons. I have button 3, that is the number 3 in all the list. Okay, so I go here to my Spanish first, button 3, it's language 1, Spanish, in the list of buttons, and you set it to number 3. That's okay. For English we do the same, we just duplicate the one from Spanish, and it is language 2 because it's English, and we do the same for Portuguese. And that's it. So you set it to Portuguese, that is language number 3. And that's it. Okay, we can check it. We have, remember that these buttons have some kind of interaction or something. So button 1 text, button 2 text. We just duplicate this one for button 3, and we call it button 3 text. And if this, we're going to set text box text. Check, you have text box. The text box, it has to be language. It's okay. Just remember now it's the string. We don't have global message strings, so we go to global message strings to check if we have the value for button 3. And you say, oh no, I don't have this one. So pretty simple, you have to press in a button 2, or you press button 2, but you press button 3. We just add it to all the languages. We're going to add an extra item, and that's it. We just give some space, and you just duplicate this and change to button 3, you change this to, you press button 3, or without to presión now, or something like that. Without 3, presión now. That's it. We have number 3. We go here to the procedure for button 3. We go to language. It is language 3, that is Portuguese, and the string, it is number 3. Language 1, that is Spanish, and the text is number 3 or string and number 3. And then we check. Let's set it here. Let's Portuguese again, and now it's button 3 or botão 3. And when I press, but it's nothing is happening. Why? Because we haven't called the procedure when we click the button. Sorry. Then you just duplicate this one and you go for button 3, button 3, button 3 text, and we check. Botão 2, botão 1, botão 3. We change it to Spanish. Usted presionó, and we change this to English. Okay, so as you check, that was not very difficult. Okay, and if you add more elements, it will be easier to rename them, or to refresh, or to change the text, or to add an extra translation. Okay, because we can make another one, maybe I don't know, gallego, letón, okay, vietnamita, ucraniano, I don't know. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you find it useful. Please guys, help me subscribe to this channel, okay, help me grow, and also share this video with someone who's learning App Inventor just like me, okay, because I'm just learning and trying to make these things. So I will see you next time. My name is Eduardo. Bye bye.